Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, Assalatu Assalamu ala Rasulillah. Hope you all are doing well. In my previous videos, actually, I covered few things: the role of finance, the role of HR, the role of a chief strategy officer, and role of a chief operating officer. So, if I do not say something about the role of a CEO, then the string becomes incomplete. So, in a very short, in a nutshell, in a very short dimension, I will try to describe the role of a CEO and what is expected from a CEO. That is a very short, I would say, but it can be extended in a different direction. And the number one role of a CEO, what is expected from a CEO is basically managing the organization and represent the shareholders within the operation. Normally the shareholders, they do not run the business. They choose an agent for them who will look after the day-to-day operation and overall health of the business, overall operation of the business. So that is one thing. So let me cover few things today. What are the core roles of a CEO? So let me give you three perspectives. The number one perspective is a CEO. What will be the work areas of a CEO? Let me give you first three core areas where the CEO will work, and then let me try to explain something. The number one core area of for a CEO to work on is the business model itself. The business model is how the company generates money. And the number two area, the CEO must work with the processes. And number three area is talent environment. So if a CEO can cover these three area, then he ultimately covers from the broad perspective he covers everything. So from in terms of the business model, what the CEO looks into, the CEO looks into the model, what works and what doesn't work. So what works consistently in the business model. The business model in a nutshell, this is the way the company generates money. The company creates value and generates money. The holistic thing is the business model. There are 9 elements. I always refer one thing. You go and look for BMC, business model canvas. It explains in detail what a business model is and what are the components of the business model. Today my topic is not basically covering all those components, but let me say something about the business model. Basically there are two elements, the two core elements. A business model must consistently delight the customers and generate profits in the business. So at one end, the consistently delighting the customers, fulfilling their needs, and in another end, it has to make profit. It has to make money for the owners, for the business itself. So this is a business model, and you dissect this business model. There are 9 components, and a CEO's role is to really look into the business model quite often, and even he can take the business model to the next level by consistently innovating the business model itself. The innovation, you add innovation with the business model, you innovate something, you change the business model in a new way, you actually take the business into the next level. One example is business model innovation. I can give you. Initially, for example, the books. It was a hard copy books initially. Now you get a completely with innovation, the internet, with this connectivity and thing. Now we have online bookstores. So they have disrupted the business model. And also you look into the telecom business, they have disrupted the business model. So the business model is a key thing a CEO must look into. So how he can add value to the business model, and which business model will be sustainable and consistently deliver the promises they make to the customers. That's the number one. Number two, processes. in processes, there are basically two process which is almost connected with the business model, because business model is a model, and underlying the business model there are processes. The number one core process is creating customers. Number one core process is creating customers, and number two core process is delivering value to the customers, delivering or fulfilling their customer needs. And to make these two processes sustainable, there are other processes. For example, the processes of managing their customers, the processes of innovation, the processes of regulatory compliance, the processes of marketing, the processes of supply chain. So there are different processes. So a CEO's role is basically to make all the processes effective and integrated and synchronized together to achieve one goal for the business. So this is the number two area, the processes. And number three, the CEO's role is to ensure a good talent environment in the organization, because it is not the machines, it is the people in the organization who create and fulfills and who dream. A machine cannot have a dream. So the people normally, they have a dream and they work for to realize the dream together. So that talent environment must be looked into by the CEO, and a healthy talent environment must be maintained to keep the business ongoing. So these three core elements is the role of a CEO to look into anyone. And unfortunately, probably if the holistic view is probably not present in many CEOs. Microscopic view, under the microscopic view of the CEOs. But this from the broad perspective, these three must be looked into by a CEO, and there will be there are people who will help the CEO to really work on those areas. Now let me tell about something that what a CEO must focus. These are the core areas. But a CEO, the CEO, his mission must be to leave a legacy for the organization. Is not only to just gain accolades and gain fanfare by himself. He has to create a legacy in the organization. The number one thing, he must be focused on creating a legacy. Number two, he must be very extremely focused on time and priority, and he must be a accelerated learner, so that he can learn very quickly compared to other people in the organization, and so that he can learn and implement things in the organization. So and finally, which is predominantly the number one thing, must be a CEO must be ethical, and he must be the standard bearers of many values in the organization. So this is what we expect from a CEO, and from today, this is a very summarized view, and I tried to capture the role of a CEO in terms of things. I miss many things may come under those things, but that is the detailed part. If in a nutshell, that is the thing for today. I hope you are enjoying my videos, and if you like it, you can share and subscribe. So until next time, I wish all the best for all of you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.